Welcome to the Practice Brave podcast. I am the host, Brianna Battles, founder of Pregnancy and Postpartum Athleticism and CEO of Everyday Battles. I'm a career strength and conditioning coach, entrepreneur, mom of 2 wild little boys, and a lifelong athlete. I believe that athleticism does not end when motherhood begins, and this podcast is dedicated to coaching you by providing meaningful conversations, insights, and interview topics related to fitness, mindset, parenting, and of course, all the nuances of pregnancy and postpartum. From expert interviews to engaging conversations and reflections, this podcast is your trustworthy, relatable resource for learning how to practice brave through every season in your life. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Practice Brave podcast. I am excited to have Michaela North back. We have known each other for a very long time. She's been on the podcast throughout multiple different seasons of life, from pregnancies and postpartums and just sort of like the mid or like early era of motherhood. And now we are both in what I like to call like the mid era of motherhood, and isn't that, I know.
So great. And it's so sad. It's all.
Yeah, it's very bittersweet, but I'm excited to have this conversation with Michaela and just sort of like touch base on what has been like the last 12 years being an athlete, being a coach, being an entrepreneur in the online space. And again, I feel like we've just sort of grown up together in this capacity, and I'm excited to have a conversation today.
I'm so excited. I can't believe it was probably 8 years ago, I think, that we sat down at Starbucks and like talked through it was before I was pregnant, I want to say. Ooh,
yeah.
Early pregnancy. It was right after the game. So I would have been just barely pregnant. And I really wanted to be intentional with my 3rd pregnancy, 4th baby, and was so excited to work with you. And then here we are. Now she's 7, and
I know.
We're like a lifetime away from that.
I know. It is so crazy. And we both had kids. Like, when did you have your twins?
Like, I think you were like breastfeeding when we did training at the CrossFit gym.
Yeah. Chance was a baby.
Because he's a little bit older than Scotty, I want to say. Is he 8?
Yeah, he's 8.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was when we met in real life. But then, like, we were both pregnant with our first around the same time, right? Like 2013-ish.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. I had twins and was competing kind of before and after that, which was, 12 and a half years ago about now.
Okay. And that feels shocking. And I think that it's funny to witness, because obviously we've been in the game as athlete coaches and being like on social media, entrepreneurial for a very long time now. And so much of what we felt and experienced in our first pregnancies 12 years ago, and our postpartum experiences, while we have a lot of improvement in the information out there, we still see a lot of the same stuff, the repeated belief systems, training approach, whatever. Like, I would tell people, like, none of this is new. None of what we are seeing is new. This is the same stuff that, like, honestly got both of us into like working with women in these seasons. Yeah. For a reason.
Yeah, definitely. I know. Well, nothing is new. And also, I feel so grateful for people like you, especially in that prenatal postpartum space. There was just nothing available to me in my first pregnancy, and having twins and having a huge diastasis due to those twins and looking for solutions. And everything I came across was like, don't do anything except for these really baby gentle movements. And I was training to compete at the CrossFit Games. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to scrap that because I have competition goals. So I just kind of ignored. It was like very all or nothing. And I think we still see that, whether it's pre and postnatal or whether it's in terms of, body composition goals or performance goals. People think it has to be all or nothing. And it's that kind of gray area that's in between that I think you and I both specialize in. And that's life-changing for people. And I think we're both so passionate about it because women need that. We have really busy, full lives. We can't do all or nothing plans.
Right. And I think we were both so impacted by the lack of information, the lack of resources, the lack of gray area that was such motivation for me to be like, why is this not a thing? Like, why do my doctors and physical therapists and other coaches and frankly, other moms, like, they don't get it? And why isn't this information out there? And it just like, it led to like a significant time of like hyper focus of like, I need to learn everything I can about this. And I think when, when we've each sort of struggled through different aspects of our
Yeah,
life, like it really becomes easy motivation to create and become who you needed.
absolutely. Yeah. And fast forward, I have a team of coaches and multiple of them are certified through your program. And so it's just so cool to see where we've evolved to now, and what you were
Yeah.
doing then has impacted so many. So I love it.
Oh, well, thank you for that. And thank you to your coaches. And that's like, I feel like that's where we can make the biggest impact, honestly, is like the more coaches that have access to education and quality resources and things that
Yeah.
don't fit in these extremes of like, you can basically go full send or like do nothing, like not fragile, but also not invincible. Let's like teach women how to be really adaptable throughout their
Yeah.
life, because that's what's going to help them sustain their health, fitness, performance, nutrition, is just finding out how to navigate different seasons, because every season of motherhood, you and I have both been in it for
Yeah.
12 years, presents its own unique challenges where you're like, you cannot keep doing what you've always done. That will never serve you long term. Like you have to change, you have to evolve. And sometimes pregnancy is like that first time
Uh-huh.
where you're like realizing, oh, like this is no longer serving me in the same way. It's no longer getting the same result, whether that's mental, emotional, physical, that it used to. And I feel like that's really that first time where you get checked.
Yeah, and it can't it's not all about you anymore. So you need to be able to be flexible so that you can continue to have those habits serve you for life when your life is dictated by other people. Like just for instance, today I'm like, okay, I have meetings and then I have carpool pretty much from 3 till 9, but my daughter has an hour and a half practice and I know there's a gym option nearby, so I'm going to go get an hour workout at 6. Would have loved to do it at 9, but so it's like that's
Yep.
okay. And you
Yeah.
just adapt and you figure it out. And it doesn't need to look perfect to have like that something over nothing approach.
Yeah. No, I love that. And you know what? I realized we started just like yapping right away in this podcast, but I do want you, like, I just assume everybody knows who you are. But again, that's because we are from the same era. But I want you to like rewind a little bit, give us some context on like who you are as an athlete and who you've been and where it's evolved to today, your coaching, your business. Just tell us a little bit about you.
So I am Michaela North. I have 4 kids, including twins that are my oldest. And I have always been a competitive athlete. I ran track and field Division 1 in college, competed in the hurdles, long jump, and heptathlon. That was like a lifetime ago, but definitely a big part of who I am. I've always loved to challenge myself physically. And I think college track especially taught me so much about doing hard things and having that translate to confidence in other areas of my life. And so that's a really big value of mine and something I've carried forward into competing in the CrossFit space. I competed individually and had just pregnancy competition for multiple years. I was able to compete as an individual in CrossFit and then went on to compete at the CrossFit Games with a team, which was so much fun. Seriously, one of the coolest experiences ever. And I think because of that team aspect, like it lives on forever. The success, we won the games, which was the ultimate success, but really it was that year training for that I think back on and remember. And then during the competition, let's see, the week before I knew I had missed my period. And so coming home, I did a pregnancy test and was like, oh, wow, okay, we're having our 4th baby. So that was in 2017, quickly shifted gears through that whole time. Let's see. I got my degree in college in business marketing and psychology. I went right into an ad agency post college and kind of thought it was my dream job. I never saw anyone working in the health and fitness space in like a way that made sense for me. And it wasn't until maybe 6 months after college, I was working that full-time job, kind of trying to figure out fitness as a non-athlete, like what that looked like for me, that I stumbled across CrossFit. I came upon CrossFit and quickly was like, oh my gosh, this could be a career for me and something that's flexible with motherhood. I knew that working at the ad agency, like the further in I got there, just the more hours I was going to need to work and the more demanding it would be. And it just didn't really make sense for what I wanted long term. So I got certified in CrossFit. I was really passionate about nutrition at the time, coming from being an athlete into not. It was like a huge shift for me physically, and that was a challenge. And so at the time I was reading everything I could get my hands on with nutrition. And so I quickly started doing they had me kind of in charge of all things nutrition at the gym very quickly because I was so passionate about it. And so within sort of that year after finding my dream job, I had quit my dream job and just went all in on CrossFit, competing, coaching, and taking on clients. And then that brought me up to the CrossFit Games where I had the greatest experience ever. And shortly after met you and had my fourth baby. And then really from 2018 on, I kind of took all of my focus and energy that I put into being a competitive athlete into helping others. I kind of wanted a break from competing. We sort of had hit the peak, and CrossFit started to change a lot at that point too. So it was more difficult to go back to it as an individual with 4 little ones. Just required a lot more travel that I just wasn't willing to do. And so I just decided to take on more clients and made Hungry Fitness, my coaching business, more official. And then from there, scaled up to a team. I have 8 incredible nutrition coaches on my team, and we offer a pretty comprehensive training program that's a subscription option that people can sign up for and do month to month, where we have gym programming at home. Really the goal to serve women at whatever stage they're in and kind of wherever they are so that they can build muscle and increase their strength and feel their best. So we have a few options with Hungry Fitness, but that's what I spend most of my time doing now. I am dabbling. I'm training for my first High Rocks competition right now. So that's new, and definitely the most kind of intense thing physically I've done since CrossFit. I did do a little bodybuilding show there in the middle for fun. I like, finding new ways to challenge myself. But I'm excited for that. I'm kind of going to do a doubles competition with someone that I used to compete against actually at the CrossFit Games, Molly Bulmer. So very excited about that. We've been distance training together, little FaceTime sessions. It's been good. So we did that in December.
That.
So we thought
That's
it
so
was
awesome.
adjacent enough to CrossFit that we could probably have fun with it. Other than the fact that it's a lot of running. So we'll see.
It is a lot of
sprinter,
running.
not a distance runner. And it's definitely a distance race.
No, it is. Yes. Well, as you guys can hear, she is honestly one of the OG athlete moms in the CrossFit space. So again, everything we're seeing now, none of that is new. It has been done before, but I think just the spotlight, and honestly, more acknowledgement of moms making a run for high levels of performance, whether it's CrossFit or the Olympics or just other different pro athlete settings. We're seeing a lot more moms in the space, and it is because of women like you who have shown what is possible and have started to pave that way. And obviously trying to provide more education on my side of things so that we're navigating it and can stay in the game so you can have longevity and do the High Rocks races and have that, that lifetime of athleticism. And I love that you and Molly are doing that together. Molly's another one of the OG athletes. I helped coach her early on too. It's just funny. There's this whole era of moms and athletes who are still involved in coaching. And we've really all seen this space evolve so much. And I have a lot of gratitude for all of you guys who kind of helped pave this pathway.
Yeah, definitely kindred spirits and just get things on a different level too. Having seen where it's been and where it is now. Yeah.
Yeah. Because again, I think sometimes people lose sight of just how little information there was for us. What might be common sense now was nowhere to be found. I try to say that, but people really, they don't get it. Diastasis was not a known thing.
No,
no one talked about that at all.
No, nobody, even physical therapists at the time. It was just not, something that anyone was talking about or providing education on, especially education that helped you integrate into what you were doing. That just was not an option. So
no.
Yeah.
It was just push your abs together, just tape them
just bind them.
binders, all of this stuff.
Or like just do these gentle exercises and you can't actually lift any weights.
Right. Right. And so like that is where a lot of this, like, I guess, where we both realize like there's got to be something more and better and different than that. And I really appreciated working with you through that process, because I think a lot of people, I think you can understand, some people think they have a diastasis and other people actually have one. And you were somebody who, after twins and more pregnancies, you had a really significant diastasis.
Yeah, I think it was 7 to 8 centimeters is what my surgeon eventually told me. And I was talking about that earlier on my stories. I think people could see like, oh, you worked on, your diastasis and managing pressure, but then you still got surgery, right? That's something that I think probably people think like, oh, but did you even need to do that? And I feel like the learning I had on how to manage pressure and like be connected to my core and pelvic floor was something that is just so invaluable to me. And we kind of got to the point where it's like, I could lift heavy loads and I could do all of these things and felt really strong and secure. But when I relaxed, my abs were still 6 to 8 centimeters separated. So it's like, it felt so nice to get them brought back together again. But those things I still use in my day to day. And it's like lifelong skills that every woman, every like teen and young women and men too.
Yeah. Cause we're like not taught any of that. And, I feel like diastasis for a lot of people is sort of the gateway drug that gets the attention, because you're like, oh my God, my abs are ruined.
Yep.
Or they're broken, or they're this or they're that. But really, like, the connection between a diastasis and then the pelvic health, it's all interrelated. And whether you've had babies or not, as we age, like, pelvic health symptoms become a lot more prevalent. And we see that a lot with female athletes, even if they haven't had babies, when they do double unders, when they're lifting heavy, like that's a very common occurrence. And we just like haven't been given coaching strategies that better support the female anatomy under load, under high impact, especially if they're symptomatic or in a season where maybe they're more vulnerable to having seasons or having symptoms like pregnancy, postpartum, perimenopause, menopause, working with the elderly population. Like that's where we're headed, but the coaching industry hasn't really matched that yet.
Yeah.
As much, but we're getting there.
In all things, I think, like, especially, different stages of womanhood, I don't think to require entirely new strategies, but small pivots can go such a long ways. And just having more education around different stages is everything. Women are looking for that. And so I think being able to provide it in terms of training or nutrition is so helpful. So
like what's going to keep women active across their lifespan. And sometimes you have to understand like what their bodies experience that maybe like wasn't on our radar earlier, but has become, like I say, pregnancy and postpartum are like these catalyst seasons for becoming so much more aware of your body, of your athlete brain, of like everything, because you have to learn to be really adaptable with your approach if you want to keep being an athlete across that lifespan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I think just like doctors weren't talking about diastasis, they also weren't talking about perimenopause. So it's like, that's another like the next kind of chapter that we are like, hey, let's get some education here. Like, what are my options? And same thing, being intentional can actually not be like doesn't require necessarily a huge effort if you just have the right information for what you
like just a solid baseline. And it's not having like overhaul everything, but it is saying like, okay, what is like what serves me or what's no longer serving me, and how can I make like small changes to that in order to accommodate like whatever season I'm in right now. And I think that's like on the horizon for us, which is shocking.
It is shocking. I know. Yes.
But, I think we're just going to go in feeling at least more informed than we did about going into pregnancy and postpartum.
Yes, 100%. I think that is the goal. Like, I really want to enter that chapter just feeling equipped and knowing what are the main things that I need to prioritize and focus on. And I think you probably have already noticed that with your own training, right? Like, I know how I train now in my late 30s is different than how I trained in my late 20s. I was having a conversation with a friend about that the other day. Like, I always thought, oh, as you get older, you'll do less. Because I always would hear friends say like, oh, I can't do the same intensity I used to do, or whatever. I need more rest and recovery, or I need to roll out before I lift. And I always thought like maybe their effort just went down with age, but I'm realizing my effort is the same. Like I'm trying to maintain that high level of effort as I age, but that just looks different as I age.
Yeah.
Just like during pregnancy or postpartum, or, you know, you can still give a high level of effort, and that feels really good, I think, for us to do, especially if we are lifelong athletes. Like you want to feel like an athlete lifelong, like for your whole life. And so, but you do have different things that you need to pay attention to and be smart with so that you are able to do that long term.
Right. And I think like overall, I'm like, in our late 30s, like I feel like I'm a better athlete as a well-rounded athlete now than I was a decade ago, even before babies. And I think has a lot to do with just having so much more body awareness, and I'm so much more intentional with how I train. I'm not trying to prove anything. Like I'm not trying to like lift is like and see like how heavy I can lift. I actually don't really care. I just want to keep lifting relatively heavy on any given day. I want to be able to run. I want to be able to do jujitsu. I want to be able to like tap into
hikes, whatever.
Yes, like just do whatever I want. And I think like having that really well-rounded approach has made me such a better athlete overall. My body composition is better.
Yeah.
My mental health is better. Like all of these things have improved because I have changed my approach to training, even though I've gotten older.
Absolutely. I think in my 20s, I was like sick all the time because I was just training myself into the ground. Like I didn't know how to listen to that biofeedback and make adjustments.
Right. Right. That's like when your brain wants to do like one thing and your body's like, nah,
Yeah. Now I'm like, okay, let's dial down the intensity today. We're a little like under the weather. Let's prioritize recovery and we're good. Just keep moving forward.
Right. Or the other thing I was thinking about, I'm sure you can relate, is like, when our kids were really little and we'd have to like, okay, maybe I can't do that workout because in the morning because I was up all night with a baby. So now I need to find another time in the day to work out, or your nap time workout just goes to crap because they didn't nap. And I'm like, oh my God, I feel like I'm sort of in that season again where my workout times are not predictable anymore because there's like sports and like different school start times and all these things. And I'm like, oh, wait, it never actually ends. You might have a season where you're like kind of steady, but then all of a sudden you like get entered into a new season where you're like, okay, well, I don't know.
I know a friend asked me today, I have friends that will love to like come and lift with me. And I'm like, yeah, let me know when you want to. She's like, when do you usually lift? I'm like, well, just follow me on like Sunday and I'll kind of let you know. Cause I don't have a regular time now because it gets done, but it's like, you're just shuffling it around. I'm like, okay, well, this kid has this here. I got to go there. And it's funny too, because I have friends or family maybe in the baby stage, and I can tell that they envy where I'm at. Like older kids, you don't need to watch them constantly. You can just like work out in their minds, work out whenever you want. You work from home. And it's like, I remember thinking that I even remember thinking when I was working full time, like, gosh, that girl, she just gets to go to the gym with her baby, do the childcare thing. She can work out whenever she wants. I didn't know she was like juggling nap schedules, juggling no sleep, feeling so tired. And then fast forward to that time, I realized it was actually very challenging to get a workout in because you're just exhausted. Yeah. And then fast forward to now, I'm like, well, from 2 to 9, I'm doing carpool in the mornings for 3 hours. I want to be present with my kids because then they are gone during the day. And then, there's like work and, all those things for like the 4 hours that they are all gone at the same time. So it's just new challenges with each stage. And I think it is easy to think same thing, all or nothing. Like if I can't do it perfectly, then it's not worth it. It would be so easy to do that. Right. But getting in a 20-minute workout feels really good. If you can't get in a 60-minute one. I actually had that yesterday. I had kids things all day. And then on top of that, just felt so depleted. And 6:00 came around. I had a window and Craig offered to make dinner. And I was like, you know what? I can do my interval workout. Right. I can slow down. Like I can just take it at whatever intensity. I don't need to go full intensity. And I got on, I warmed up, and then actually felt great once I got started and was able to hit the paces I want to. And then I finished and it was 7, not ideal for me. I hate working out late. Yeah. But I was like, okay, that was 30 minutes and I had a great workout and now I feel so good. And I think flexibility is the key for sure.
Yeah. And that's like something that's like you learn in the early seasons of motherhood, even though like
you don't want to learn that. You
No.
want to have like your solid and consistent workout routine. You want it to look similar to what it used to. And I think for most of us, we just have to learn to be adaptable, but that's ultimately what makes you a better athlete long term, where like you and I are on the other side of those seasons, but competing in jiu-jitsu, competing in high rocks or bodybuilding, whatever, like the ability to stay in the game because of some of those tools that were learned in those early years of motherhood.
Yeah. And I think too, as we get older, there's injuries that come up too, right? And it's like, okay, you might have an injury where you could just not train, or it's like, all right, well, what can I train through this? Like, how can I adapt so I can keep showing up for myself? Because there's the physical benefits of working out. Like, I love the body composition changes I've had as I've applied like intentional training and or performance wise. But for me, the mental health side of it is so big that to just be so all or nothing would be so detrimental to my mental health that I think finding ways to apply that something over nothing mentality just goes so far, especially as we are grown-ups with like in women with a lot on our plate and a heavy mental load and just so many things to worry about and think about. It's nice to just have that intentional time where you can show up, even if it's 15 minutes. Like, it does a lot for your mental well-being.
Yeah, it really goes a long way. And that kind of brings me to my next question, which is pretty similar sentiment. But, we're seeing this wave of pregnant CrossFitters, pregnant athletes that are, professional athletes competing in their different sports. And, they have goals to return to their sport, to return to certain high levels of performance postpartum. You've done that a couple times in a couple different ways. What advice would you have for these moms who are in those early seasons of motherhood?
Well, for one, you can't do it alone. So having support, whether that's through having a partner that can be there for you so that you can get your training in, because you're going to be tired, and to try to do it without any support in terms of childcare, I think is really hard. I think I always made sure people knew that when they were like, how did you train for the CrossFit Games with, 3 babies essentially? And it was like, well, Craig was able to do the morning routine so I could get in my early morning workout. And then when I went to the gym later in the day, there was that hour of childcare. So like, I was not watching kids for my training sessions, and that made a huge difference.
Yeah.
And so that's one. And then I think also too, knowing that it, even the same as I just said, like being able to consistently show up is worth everything, and you can progress so well that way. It doesn't need to be perfect training sessions. Like before babies, you can hit those perfect training sessions exactly as they're programmed.
Right.
After, there's going to be variables. Again, it might just be you're checking that box and you're not hitting the weights or the reps or the times that you're supposed to quote unquote hit. But that doesn't mean you can't make amazing progress and be a better athlete than you were prior. Like, I was so much stronger and more physically fit after having 3 babies, even managing a pretty severe diastasis, than I was before. So I think don't let, and those 4 months postpartum, like, I feel like were a time where I was putting in the work and not seeing any validation. And it's like that shift between 4 and 6 months, or even 4 to 9 months, it's just crazy. It's like such a snowball effect. And I remember showing up to the gym daily with my like baggy shirt on. I just felt like so not myself, and putting in the work. And then I hit somewhere in that 4 to 6 month range, and people were starting to comment like, dang, you're looking really strong, or like you're getting through that workout so fast, like you seem so fit. And it was like, I'm just doing the exact same thing as I've been doing, but now it's starting to have an effect, I think. And also too, so much advice. Also,
I know.
just remembering that like you are important too. I think it's so distant for me because I'm not, I haven't had a baby for 7 years, but it's so, especially if it's your first baby or babies, in my case, like you have maybe a certain way you had planned on doing motherhood, whether that's breastfeeding or maybe your schedule. And I think remembering that things don't always go as planned, and that's okay, but you really need to take care of you. Like, that is just as important as taking care of your babies. And I will never forget, like, I think I probably spent like 8 hours in the bed trying to breastfeed two babies during that postpartum period and going to the doctor. And she asked me how I was going. And I was like so worried because I'd planned on breastfeeding for 12 months. And she was like, okay, but you matter. Like, you need to eat. You need to get out of the bed. And so I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, things can change and that's okay. Like, you might have a plan and you might need to adapt the plan, but that doesn't mean, and I went on to compete. My goal was to compete at regionals that year and nationals for weightlifting. And I went on to do that. Like, but I would have never guessed that I would have done that month postpartum when I was struggling. So just consistent, just like giving yourself grace and being willing to pivot. And those pivots might put you in a place you couldn't even imagine, like in a way better place than you had planned.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And I think that's such great advice for moms, because I think it's so easy to just be so like, motherhood is so all encompassing, and, and hearing that you still matter. And I try to tell people too, and in the same breath, like, it's okay for your life to look different right now. Like, just because something might be on hold, or you're not performing the way you want, or maybe you can't at all for whatever the reason might be.
Right.
Like, that doesn't mean that it is over. It just means that it's like paused or very different looking right now, and that you still have so much potential. There is no rush. Like, we see so many, like, you've obviously been in the game a long time too, but like, we see all of like the highlight reels, and we see all the success stories. They made it back to the CrossFit Games. They ran this marathon. They competed in a high rocks at 6 months postpartum. They did all of these things. And there's these highlight reels and comeback stories, but the majority of people do not need to operate on those timelines. The majority of people don't need to like rush the process. The process will always wait for you when you're truly ready. And that season of motherhood, while it's so challenging and can be so much, it also is very temporary.
So sure. And also, like you said, we see the highlight reels. Like, maybe that was this just perfect scenario of like being present with their child and training for this big thing. Or maybe it was a lot of sacrifice required and a lot of horrible days leading up to that, and a lot of pressure that someone put on themselves that they maybe didn't need to put on. Like, we never know. Yeah. We just never know the backstory. And I think too, for me, having multiple pregnancies, like after my twin pregnancy, I was just getting into CrossFit. I had just gone to regionals. Like, I was so excited. And I wanted to be a mother more than anything. I was willing to do that. And I wanted that more than competing in CrossFit, but also coming back and seeing all the women that like I was maybe beating before. And now I'm like 5 steps behind them and they have way more time under their belt. That was something I had to reconcile. Like, okay, I made this sacrifice and I am so glad I did, but that's going to mean that this next year looks different, or my career looks different. Like, I think had I not had 4 babies while I was competing in CrossFit, my CrossFit career would have looked way different, but that's okay. Like, I'm so glad I did it the way I did it. And so I think just coming back to like, what are my values and what are my priorities? And also that first postpartum period is just so isolating, and it's so hard to know it's kind of like a reevaluation of like, who am I? Like, I don't recognize myself. I feel different. I look different. Will I ever feel like myself again? And that can be really scary and kind of hard to explain. And so I think there's a lot of like a level of desperation that women feel, like wanting to get back to not even performing or looking like themselves, but just like feeling like themselves again.
Yeah. No, I certainly relate to that. And I know you too. That was like, and that was what was sold to us also, right? Was like, if you have a fit pregnancy, you'll have this perfect delivery and then you're going to bounce back. And then we were like, what the hell? We're so fit, but like, what's wrong with our abs? What's wrong with this? Why is that hard? And it's like, that part wasn't and still isn't always highlighted.
No. And being for me, like being in the fitness space, being in the nutrition space, working so hard all the time. Like I worked, you work out through your pregnancy and then being postpartum, and yes, like my abs looked nothing like they did before. And it was like, then you see all these other women saying like, well, yeah, I just had a fit pregnancy. That's why I look the way I do postpartum. And it's like, oh, okay, well then am I a failure? Like, what did I do wrong?
What did I do wrong? And especially because you didn't see stomachs that looked like they had babies on social media or in any
No.
athletic settings. You didn't see the loose skin or the stretch marks or changes to the belly button. Like there
Yeah.
wasn't like that wasn't really represented. And so then it makes you feel like, well, why me? Why did
Yeah.
that happen to my body then?
Yep. And I think with each pregnancy, I realized how short that newborn period was, and like
Yeah.
how quickly my athleticism would come back if I just keep doing all the same things that I'd been doing, and
Yeah.
that it was okay to take that time. And I think that's the one thing, like if you are a first time mom, just know that some things maybe will never look the same, but also it might look better, and
Yeah.
there was just so much ahead, and just focusing on what matters in this moment will yield so much happiness in the long run. And it is such a
Right.
short period of time. I mean, we're
It
postpartum
is.
forever, but also like that
Yeah.
tunnel
Not like a
vision
year.
stage.
Yeah.
You pass through it, and the passing through it is where the growth happens too. Like you learn so
Yeah.
much.
So much growth happens there. And so like being able to really leverage those seasons sets you up for like, I think the really happy place you and I are both at right now, which is why like I thought it'd be so nice for us to come back together and have this conversation, because we are obviously on the other sides of that. We're still doing athletic stuff. And I think in an even cooler capacity, we're seeing our kids become little athletes, and we're getting to be in a role of not the athlete, not the coach, but as the mom supporting our kids and becoming the best versions of themselves as an athlete who's really healthy in their approach and like their participation. And that has been so cool for me.
Oh,
And I feel that for you.
I would put on the sidelines 10 times over. Like
Yeah.
my husband has even said that, like he's coaching our boys football right now, and he gets more nervous for those 12-year-old football games than he did for his college football games. He's like,
Yeah.
and he's so excited. He's like, I would rather watch film of the 12-year-olds than watch the NFL teams right now. Like
Yeah.
he's just like, I'm like,
Yeah.
did you ever think he would say that? And
I
it's so
know.
fun. And juggling it too. It's like how to show up for myself, but also they're the
Hmm.
priority. Supporting them is a priority.
Right.
I had our High Rocks competition is in December, and I was like, oh, that'll be fun. The kids haven't really seen me compete since CrossFit, and they don't even remember that. Maybe it'd be fun to just go
Yeah.
for the weekend and they could watch me suffer. And then I find out their lacrosse tournament is in California the week before. And I'm like, oh, well, yeah,
Yeah.
I'll probably just go by myself. It's fine. It's like I don't know that we want to be in California for 10 days, but in December, but it's funny, like managing their schedules now is the
Oh
priority.
yeah.
And I love
I
it.
know. I do that too. I know. I like it's so fun to be able to be in this role and to see them and support them and just sort of like give them like we have the perspective of
Yeah.
being college athletes, competing in different capacities and different sports, different timelines in life. And I feel like we just have this insight that
Oh
just
yeah.
didn't really exist when we were coming up in sports. So we're like, okay, from like how they approach their training to the coaching that they get
Mhm.
to the preventing burnout to having
Yeah.
diversity in the sports that they're playing and not just one sport.
Yep.
Again, like this, I like sport IQ that will
Oh,
hopefully keep our kids loving the sports that they have exposure to.
it is so fun. My husband and I talk a lot about that. Like, and just like being able to give them like speed and agility training that maybe other kids aren't getting. Like we have that knowledge, or strength training to support their athleticism, or
Yeah.
getting inadequate protein, and just
Yeah.
things that, and talking about the mental side. Like we have perspective that not everyone has on
Yeah.
the big picture too. Like this
Yeah.
12-year-old sports are so fun, but also like what are we learning and developing through those sports? Because that's what you carry through for the rest of your life. Like showing up, being a good teammate, being humble, doing hard things, taking feedback. Those are all the things that I really, and being passionate and working towards improving. Like those are all things that I would think we all want to work on. And so I think
Yeah.
sports are such a great avenue for that if used in a positive way.
Yeah, no, I definitely see that. And I feel like, man, we're really in a great era of motherhood and like, and being an athlete, like we're
Yeah,
in this sweet
it's fun.
spot where like these are the days in a lot of ways. And I remind myself of that because I'm like, oh my God, like the early part of motherhood felt like such survival for so long, like you were just like, trying to figure out your body, and then you're trying to figure out your baby, and then you're recovering from surgery, and then you have other little kids, and like pregnancies and postpartums, and like your body's never yourself. You are needed constantly.
Mhm.
So there's this like chunk of years that you're just sort of like, you like are blacked out and going through the
Yeah.
motions. And then you get to the other side and you're like, oh my God, suddenly it's going by really fast. And I want to hit the slow down button
I
and just be
know.
like grateful that we are here, and like just appreciate motherhood more. And then I appreciate like what my body has gone through so much more.
Mhm. And I think it's fun too. One aspect that I didn't think about as being a mother that likes to y- train and be strong and be fit is that my kids see that
Yeah.
and they think that's so positive. And I'll never forget going to like pick up my son at recess. I think he was in 3rd grade, and we left. No big deal. I think I just had like normal, I don't know, tank top and shorts on or something. And we left. He's like, Mom, all the boys were saying like, whoa, your mom's so buff. And I was like, oh, did that embarrass you? Like, what? No attention is good attention when you're at some ages. And
Yeah.
he's like, no, I loved it. Like everyone knows you as like the strong mom. And I'm like, that's so cool. Because when I
Yeah.
grew up, I feel like muscle and strength, like were not things that boys especially thought was cool for a woman to have.
Yep.
And so I was like, that's so cool. We're shifting that narrative for them too.
Oh, big time.
That they're seeing strong women as a really positive thing. And they're looking,
where it's like a norm,
and they're
like,
admiring their mom for that. Like what, not a lot of boys do that. And so I was like, that's really cool. It is a norm. It's like a normal thing for them. Like we're going to go train with mom and dad.
Yep, exactly. Like being able to have the garage gym, and like, I have like a flock of little boys on my street that are just like always around, but it's, they see me pushing the sled, they'll work out with me. And I'm like, this is so subtle, but it is so special that like they're seeing that this is normal, that this is how we can play, that we can move our bodies, that I'm doing this because I love it. And I'm like training, maybe I'm training for something with jujitsu, but I'm also just training to like move my body, and that feels good and it's fun. And I've never forced it on them. They just they opt in.
Yeah.
Like, you guys want to push the sled? Do you want to do this? You guys want to design your own workout? And like, they'll just get in the garage and write on the whiteboard. And I'm like, this is how we do it. We don't force our kids. We're not cramming it down their throat, but like they see what we do, and then they automatically learn how to do it on their own terms.
Yeah. And I think that it's so fun too when they're young because they're growing. And then if they apply that stimulus of strength training or speed and agility or whatever it is, like their body responds so quick. And so they get that validation and are like, oh my gosh, I am now rebounding the basketball and I wasn't last year. Or now I'm beating kids to the ball and I wasn't last year. And that's because I put in that work. And that's really cool to see. So we're over here just trying to maintain.
Yeah. Yeah, they have like nothing but upside, and it's so fun. Oh, it's so awesome. Well, Michaela, tell us where people can follow you, learn more about the coaching that you offer, and just follow along your journey.
Yes. So Hungry Fitness on Instagram or Hungry Fitness Team. And our website's just hungryfitness.co. We offer one-on-one nutrition coaching and custom programming. So whether you're postpartum or perimenopause or beyond, really any stage of life you're at as a woman, we want to be there to support you through nutrition and training. And that one-on-one coaching is really our bread and butter because we can offer a really individualized approach and give you systems that serve you in your busy, full life. But we also have muscle building and fat loss cohorts, more of a group coaching option, and macro consultations and strategy calls, as well as our subscription programming, HF Physique. So lots of options, kind of depending on like what stage of life you're in and what you're looking for to support you with your health and fitness goals. And would love to have you follow along at Hungry Fitness or Hungry Fitness Team, which is where a lot of my team will post and share education and support.
Oh, it's so awesome. I'm so proud of you. And I have loved like coming up with you, like that we're still in the game in similar capacities and practicing what we have been preaching for over a decade. Like it's rare to have like, I don't know, it's rare to find that. And I just love that for both of us, honestly.
Agreed. Love following along with everything you're doing as well. So thank you for having me. So fun.
All right. Thank you, girl. On October 1st, I will be hosting a free workshop called the No BS Guide to Coaching Pregnant and Postpartum Athletes. As usual, I will be really direct, but also really practical in ways that we can better support female athletes through pregnancy, postpartum, and on behalf of their lifetime of athleticism. It's so much more than exercise modifications. I will be talking about the 3 core truths of coaching pregnant postpartum athletes, practical coaching strategies and case studies, as well as how to actually apply it to your coaching today. I would love to have you join me. We will have 2 different teaching times, and you can make sure that you register in the show notes. So again, that's happening on October 1st. I would love to have you join.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Practice Brave podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please leave a review and help us spread the work we are doing to improve the overall information and messaging in the fitness industry and beyond. Now, if you are pregnant and you are looking for a trustworthy exercise program to follow, I have you covered. The Pregnant Athlete Training Program is a well-rounded program for pregnancy with workouts for each week that are appropriate for your changing body. That's 36 weeks of workouts, 3 to 4 workouts each week, and tons of guidance on exercise strategy. We also have an at-home version of that program. If you are postpartum and you're looking for an exercise program to follow, the 8-week postpartum athlete training program would be a really great way to help bridge the gap between rehab and the fitness you actually want to do. From there, we have the Practice Brave Fitness program, which is an ongoing strength and conditioning program where you get new workouts each week and have a lot of guidance from myself and my co-coach, Heather Osby. This is the only way that I'm really offering ongoing coaching at this point in time. If you have ever considered becoming a certified pregnancy and postpartum athleticism coach, I would love to have you join us. Pregnancy and Postpartum Athleticism is a self-paced online certification course that will up-level your coaching skills and help connect the dots between pelvic health and long-term athletic performance, especially during pregnancy and postpartum. Become who you needed and become who your online and local community needs by becoming a certified pregnancy and postpartum athleticism coach. Thank you again for listening to the Practice Brave podcast. I appreciate you. And please help me continue spreading this messaging, this information, and this work.